Ladies and gentlemen of the Mortal Kombat community, I welcome you to a very special show. A show that will go beyond the personas of your favorite community members and give you a look at the person behind the player. Welcome to Life on Boon Street. Welcome one and all to Life on Boon Street. I am your host, STV Take a Chance. And after a short hiatus, we are back. Today's show centers around a guest who, quite frankly, is a math genius. This man brought us the Math of Quan Chi, the science behind Kenshi, and has been since titled the best voice of the MK scene. He has become quite well known down in Mexico for his skills and knowledge of the game. Ladies and gentlemen, please find a comfortable place, because today we will truly go behind the Mayo. Welcome to Boon Street, Under the Mayo.
Oh, it's great for you to have me on.
I'm sure our fans are going to appreciate having your voice for this next, probably about an hour and a half, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, they seem to be fans of yours too, so this might be a little overload.
Under the Mayo. First question I have for you is, what is your real name?
My name is James.
Your name is James, so we have another James on our show. We recently had James MK, so it's nice to welcome another James. Do you prefer James for this, or would you rather be called Under the Mayo?
Well, I guess this,
Or Mayo, for short.
You know what? I've gotten so used to Mayo. Let's just stick with that.
Alright, we'll roll with Mayo. Alright, Mayo. We have all bear witness to the greatness of your MK breakdown videos. My first question is this. How long does it take you to put together some of those videos?
Wow, when I started, it was just the longest, most painful exercise of my life. Science of Quan actually went by kind of quick. If you go back and you watch it, I mean, that's my first video that I did back in July, and it's kind of sloppy. I didn't really figure out my style until I did the Science of Kenshi, and that one took about 3 weeks. But that was when I was having someone else record the video footage for me, so I'd have to send them all the notes and constantly do revisions about what I wanted to talk about. But over the past 10 months or so, the whole process has become kind of streamlined. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point to where I just did this 4-part Ultimate Kenshi series, and each video took me maybe about 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, because now I know the right setting that I need on the microphone for recording. I know how I want to write it. I do all the recording myself, quick editing process, and then scoring. And I have all my settings preset, and I don't have to worry about a lot of the bullshit that I used to.
We will get a little more in depth with this as we go along, but like our show always does, we usually like to start at the beginning. And I'd like to start there with you, Mayo. I'd like to know about the life of Little Mayo, if I may call you that. Little Mayo, where were you born?
I was born in Columbus, Ohio, but as a kid, we moved and I grew up in Del City, Oklahoma. As a little Mayo, I had a little sister and she's 4 years younger than me. And I don't know, I've always been kind of a clumsy person, even more so when I was a kid. I always fell, I hurt myself a lot, broke my arm, cut my head open, always caused accidents that got my sister hurt as well.
Were you considered a klutz?
I'm still considered a klutz.
I'm sorry, keep going.
Early school life was pretty normal for me. I don't really remember a whole lot about my childhood, to be honest. I know I did things like I played baseball for about 6 years, played soccer for about 2, took taekwondo for about 3 years.
Were you big into sports or was that something that was just a community-based thing for you?
It was just something I did, I guess. You know, when you're 6 or 7 years old, you just do things. Your parents are like, "Hey, you want to play baseball?" "Yeah, sure." So I played it. You know, I didn't really have an identity, you know, until about middle school. Well, I guess until about age 10 when I discovered Aerosmith, and then everything changed.
I will actually get back to that a little later. One thing I'll ask you is this: when you think back about your experiences as a kid, you said it didn't sound like sports was really your thing. Like you didn't connect with sports. I know a few of our past guests have said that was basically all they did was play sports. Tom Brady being one of them, just not sports. Right. What did you do? What was your thing when you were a kid?
I had kind of very strange hobbies. Like in my spare time after school, I liked to come home and go out to the field behind my house and hit rocks with hammers.
Like crushing them? Yeah,
for hours at a time. I just like to walk around and find big stones and just smash them with hammers. I like to start fires. I burned a lot of like plastic toys, broken video game controllers. I just like taking them out back and burning them. I liked exploring a lot, like going around and finding like sewage entrance tunnels and just going through and seeing where it would take me and see where I would pop out in the middle of an apartment complex or something. Then, TV shows. I was a big Gumby fan. I remember that.
Mayo, I have to ask this question now. How old are you?
I'm 28.
You're 28. Okay, so we're a similar age. And it's just kind of funny when you were talking about this stuff because I've done similar things whenever I was growing up. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to people that are a little younger than me now, they look at me like I'm some savage because they don't understand that times were a little different.
We didn't have Facebook.
No, we didn't.
No, you went out back and you smashed rocks with hammers.
And you built ramps.
Ramps and forts.
Right. But it's funny because it seems like now we're in a generation that's lost that.
Yeah.
That they don't know how to go outside. They don't know how to play and do those things. They don't know how to explore. And what I'm getting from what you're saying is that you were a big explorer.
Oh yeah, I loved exploring. We had a giant fort out in the back field where we would set up traps just in case someone came into our little tree fort area. We'd have like rocks up on a branch, and if you walked in, you'd step on a string, and the rocks would fall on your head. Or there was a bike trail that went down this dirt path by the fort, and there was a huge hole in the middle of the path, and we covered it with leaves so that any bike rider, like their front tire, would just go straight down like 2 feet into this hole, and they'd flip. We really could have hurt someone, but we weren't thinking clearly.
I swear, you just pretty well mirrored something that I did when I was here. We used to build this fort too, and I grew up in a community where there was about 8 kids all the same age, and we were all boys. So what usually happened is we would split into 2 groups, and one group would build a fort, and the other person would build a fort, or the other group would build a fort, and then we'd end up having to protect them by setting the same traps. And we did the exact same trap that you just came up with, and this is kind of embarrassing to say, but instead of having it with a string with rocks that would fall, one of us took a dump in a canister, and if you hit the string, that would fall on you. So that kind of kept people out. It was pretty funny.
Oh, that's effective in its own way.
It was more mental.
More of a oh my god, there's shit on my head, and not I'm bleeding and I'm dying.
That's awesome. All right. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that for a second.
No, it's good. We're on a roll so far.
All right. So we have Little Mayo. He's growing up. Little Mayo is becoming, let's call him Teenage Mayo. Teenage Mayo. Now, you said earlier you're about 10, you started getting into Aerosmith. How big of an impact did Aerosmith have on you? I'd like to just explore that.
Well, that was my first real exposure to rock music. I didn't really know anything about music before about 10 years old, 11 years old. And for Christmas, my dad got me the cassette tape for the Top Gun soundtrack and the Wayne's World 2 soundtrack. So on the Top Gun side, I was listening to Kenny Loggins' Highway to the Danger Zone.
Of course.
And on the Wayne's World 2 side, I'm listening to Edgar Winter and Aerosmith's Shut Up and Dance from the Get a Grip album. And that was my first real exposure to a awesome rock song. So I got a greatest hits collection of Aerosmith, and I listened to it, every night for probably a year and a half. Every night I just listened to that tape. All the classics. Dude Looks Like a Lady, Love in an Elevator, Janie's Got a Gun. Mm-hmm. And then I went, I guess around 6th grade, I kind of had a bit of a music identity crisis. I didn't really know what I wanted to listen to. I mean, I would go down to CD Warehouse or wherever, and I'd buy Silverchair's Frog Stomp and TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was listening to everything, and I didn't even know if I liked it.
Yeah.
And then the day where I really found what I liked was Valentine's Day, and my parents took me to the CD store, and they said, "Okay, we're going to buy you a CD today for Valentine's Day, but the catch is it has to have the word love on it." And I was like, "Oh no, this is terrible." So I'm looking through the CDs, and there it was: White Zombie, Astro Creep 2000, Songs of Love, Destruction, and the Astro Creep. And I was like, take it. And they had to buy it for me. And that's when I found White Zombie. And, from there it was just a short skip over to, Nails, Manson, Tool, and I put the TLC album away.
No more thong song?
I don't believe TLC sung the thong song. That was Cisco.
They did in my head. Nope, TLC did it. I'm never wrong.
Okay.
All right. So, when you think back of just any time younger than you are now,
mm-hmm.
What's the first happy moment comes into your head?
First happy moment?
Happy.
Oh, man, that's...
don't overthink it. It could be something extremely simple.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because that whole 4-year period after 6th grade was some of the worst years of my life. But the happy moment started in high school. I guess my first happy moment was when I dropped out of chemistry in 10th grade. I was really kind of miserable in high school. I was a really bad student, mm-hmm. and I just didn't get chemistry at all. And I really like science now, but I didn't back then. And I had a lot of academic problems, and I finally dropped the class, and I got put into an integrated chemistry and physics class, mm-hmm. for the dumb kids. And then they let me test out of it because I was too smart and they needed the space. So I tested out of it in 6 weeks, and then suddenly I didn't have to take chemistry anymore, and then I was happy.
Nice.
Yeah, because my chemistry teacher had completely given up on me. She stopped even trying to help me learn, so I said, "Fuck this, I'm out."
So what was your happy moment? The fact that you kind of showed them differently, or was it you didn't have to take chemistry?
I guess it was that I showed them differently, because then I started kind of taking control, mm-hmm. of how my academic life went in high school. From that moment on, I started to form relationships with teachers, and they started to understand the way that I learned, because I learned just in a different way. I mean, you give me bookwork, and I can't retain the knowledge.
Right.
And I'm a much more hands-on learner, more visual learner.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers kind of took me under their wing and kind of helped me with the way that material was taught, and I got to do special projects instead of tests and stuff like that, and it really lightened the load, because my dad is real smart, real great at math, and I had so many problems that for years every night was just a fight between me and my father at the kitchen table,
yeah.
over me not understanding what was happening, mm-hmm. and getting out of chemistry and finally realizing that I may be a smart guy, but I'm not good in a school setting. And letting myself take, like lesser classes and try to focus more on what I want to learn on the side. It was a big relief. I mean, things got so bad before that I was actually sent to a learning center for kids with learning disabilities, which people may find hard to believe based on all the work in my videos. But,
so they sent you there without being diagnosed with anything, though?
Okay, well, I guess this is going to be my first good story, I guess.
I'm sorry. I'm a teacher, so that's why I caught that. I had to ask. Sorry.
It was January 1998. Me and my sister were incredibly excited for the release of Resident Evil 2. And I had a plan for my friend. My friend Greg was going to stay the whole weekend. We were going to play it. And I bought it. And then that night, my parents say, hey, Greg can't stay the night tonight because you need to go to this place tomorrow and take a test. I was like, what are you talking about? We've had this plan. And they're like, well, your grades are really bad, especially your reading class. Because I like to read, but I only like to read when I care about what I'm reading about.
Right.
In school, if you give me a novel that I don't want to read, I'll read it and I won't remember a damn thing that I read. And so you
need to be intrinsically motivated.
Exactly, and that's the way I am with any subject in life. And if I don't care about it, I can't even do it if I try. And so they sent me to this facility. It's like like those Kumon kind of learning centers, or come on, however they say it. Sent me there at like 9 o'clock in the morning, the day after Resident Evil 2 comes out, and they're like, here, sit down and take this 3-hour test. And I'm sitting in a room by myself, and it's like simple math questions. I'm answering them fine. They sit me in front of a computer with like a multiple choice. Which one of these 4 pictures doesn't belong? Then they'll show me like a picture of an airplane, a picture of an airplane hangar, a picture of a runway, and then a tiger. And I'm just like, and that's no exaggeration. I'm like, are you guys serious? You really think that I'm this fucked up? So I passed that, but around the 2-hour mark, 2:15, I'm tired. I'm hungry. There's no lunch break. I have the Resident Evil 2 instruction manual in my pocket. I'm ready to go home. And then I hit the reading comprehension section. Yeah. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm reading these pages. I'm like, oh, I'm so bored. Fuck it. I'm just going to answer random. I don't care. Because I had no idea that this was going to have, that it was going to have implications down the road.
Right.
A couple weeks later, my parents, they take me back there and they show me the test scores on the reading comprehension. They're like, you have, serious problems with reading comprehension, and you're going to enter this year program where you come here almost every day after school, or like 2 or 3 days a week, and you sit with a teacher and you do like main idea and vocabulary and stuff like that. And so I go to this facility and I'm sitting in a room and there's a teacher at a desk with maybe 3 students each. And these kids are dumb. Either they're dumb or they have like a serious, like a problem to where they can't learn. And I'm sitting there, I'm this long-haired guy in all black, 14 years old, with like 9-inch nails shirt, sitting there, not wanting to be there, reading main idea questions. And when I get something right, they reward me with a plastic token. And when I get enough tokens, I can redeem them at the store for a water gun. And it's like, it was so insulting to be there, that I kind of started taking it out on the place. I started stealing. I started stealing, like, they had children's books in the lobby. So every day I went there, I stole another book and put it in my bag. Then I started vandalizing the place. Like, I started cutting open the chairs that I was sitting in. This was, back when they had, like, floppy disks for the computers. I took scissors, I'd cut open the inside ribbon. Like, they had a big plant out in the lobby, and I cut out the center of the plant and put the top of the plant down on the root, so they didn't know that something happened to it, and it just gradually died over a month. And so, I mean, I got really angry, and that was a real source of a lot of discontent through my school years. Leading up to a little before I dropped out of chemistry, I was still in the learning center, and Marilyn Manson was coming through on the Mechanical Animals tour. and I really, really wanted to go, and it would have been my first time seeing him. And I told my parents, like, hey, I want to go to this concert. I mean, and they wouldn't even let me, like, own an album. And they're like, no, you're not going to this. I said, I'm going. My friends are going. I am going to this. You can't stop me. And so they took my threat seriously, and they said, okay, look, if you get all of your grades, if you get a B or A average in every single class in the next 6 weeks, you can go and your father will take you. Mm-hmm. And you know what happened? The grades, they turned around instantly. And they realized, oh, holy shit, our kid isn't an idiot. He just doesn't care and he needs motivation. Mm-hmm. And then he took me to the concert and I kept my grades up. And then from there, and then dropping chemistry, things finally started smoothing over. Because at this school, this high school, was also the school that was a new beginning for me. Because in middle school, me and my friends were really, we were bullied. I'm a tall guy. I'm like 6'3", but I was bullied by a lot of other kids, and so were my friends, because we were like the rocker nerdy types, not the rocker skateboarding types. And we weren't like the heavy goth kids. And so we were the computer playing kids who also wore dark clothes and had long hair. Yeah. And so we kind of had our own little group. We couldn't really fit in with anyone. People would start fights with us. Kids would run up behind me and hit me in the back of the head with textbooks and knock me to the floor. Cheerleaders would, stop me and stop my friends in the hallway just to tell us we were ugly and laugh at us. It was like a horrible time. And then we moved to this high school to get away from them. And then I changed my classes, and I don't know, life finally had an optimistic look. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Well, definitely, and I mean, getting a new perspective and a new environment is definitely a huge factor in changing your perception of things too. I'm just wondering though. You said that you were you're the guy that played on the computers and just wore, like 9 Inch Nails shirts and stuff. Mm-hmm. Why, were you a target just because of your interests?
Well, in 6th grade, I didn't really have any kind of identity. And then, the thing is, I would go to JCPenney's with my family and like, hey, let's pick out clothes for this school year. And I was naturally attracted to the darker clothes. Like, I picked the black Wrangler pants and the black Nike shirt. I wasn't doing it on purpose. And then eventually, one night in the shower with the shower radio, I hear a 9 Inch Nails song. I'm like, wow, I've never heard this before. This is great. And then I started getting into that kind of music, and then kind of forming identity that way. And so all the preppy jock kids, I was a target for them, and I didn't really have friends of my own. Mm-hmm. Because the skater kids didn't want me either, because I didn't skateboard and I wasn't using any drugs or anything. And so I tried to fit in with them. I tried to change my clothes. I tried to get like Tommy Hilfiger shirts, polo shirts, mm-hmm. and be like, hey guys, I'm cool too. But that just backfired. And then, I started to find friends who were like me, and I just kind of accepted who I was around 8th grade, and I accepted the role of the enemy of that group. And I wasn't just going to be, a pacifist about it. I actually kind of turned into an antagonist. And that kind of helped form a solidarity in a group, and that's how you get through. As well. That's how you get through things.
Good. It's just I really love hearing about our guests' high school experiences and such, because it just paves the way for their current kind of personality and their morals and beliefs.
Yeah.
And how would you, if you could pick one thing that you learned through high school that wasn't anything to do with the course, it wasn't textbook knowledge per se. If you were to pick one thing from high school that you carried forward in your life now, what would that one thing be? Like the greatest thing?
Greatest thing? Probably that my natural personality is something that I shouldn't be ashamed of. Well, shame maybe isn't the right word. That I don't have to be so conservative with the way that I am, or the way that I act, or the way that I feel. That in high school I just kind of opened up, and I'm a weird guy, and when I just kind of admitted that and let myself be, that's when I found the people who were attracted to me, and could be my friend. And I found a gaming community, and I don't know, ever since high school I've just been okay with being myself, when before that I wasn't.
Good. That's a strong message and a strong thing to carry with you.
Yeah.
So let's kind of move forward a little bit. So let's kind of move ahead of high school a little bit into the late teenage years. Do you have any stories about that period of time that you would like to share?
Oh, let me think. Oh God, yeah, I do have a story. It's not late high school, it's early high school.
Okay.
This is probably the biggest thing that happened. Like I said, I went to a different high school to avoid a lot of the people that tormented me in middle school. People who I've since made up with, because people grow up. But that first year of high school, I was trying to start over. I was a kid with long hair, long trench coat, and everything. And that was the year that the Columbine shootings happened in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
2 kids in trench coats go nuts and kill people and kill themselves. And, I mean, you probably remember the mass hysteria in the media. All of a sudden, every kid who looked like that was a suspect. Yeah. Which is so hypocritical, because if they were wearing football jerseys, they wouldn't suspect every high school football player of being a maniac. And so the next day, I go to school, and I decided I'm not going to be intimidated by this. I'm going to be who I am. I went in my trench coat, and the hallway parted like the Red Sea. Seriously, I opened the door, and everyone just moves to the wall and made room for me. All the teachers backed into their doorways like I was about to start shooting. People I didn't even know were coming up to me and saying, "Hey, we're cool, right? Like, if you go nuts, can you tell me beforehand or something?" Which was really insulting.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my friends had to deal with this, because suddenly we were this target. And one morning, this was about a week after the Columbine shootings, we were all sitting around before class, and we were talking about it, because everyone was talking about it. And we started saying that they could have done a lot more damage. They only killed 15 students. They could have they could have thrown bombs into a crowded cafeteria. They could have knocked out the foundation of parts of the school and collapsed classrooms. They could have done a lot more. But the point of our conversation was that it's a good thing that they didn't do more.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been so much worse. But people walking by us, they understood our conversation as us saying that we could do better. And so they reported us. And one by one, we were called into the office to talk to a couple police officers and the principal, and we had to defend ourselves. But there was so much hysteria around the school because of this that our one friend with a breaking and entering criminal record, he had to take the blame for it. They pinned it on him. His name was Lee, and at the beginning of the school day, the rumor was Lee has a bomb in his locker. By the end of the day, it was Lee is on top of the school with a sniper rifle, and he was expelled. And my friends and I had to go to his defense in front of the school board. And I went in there and I laid out my arguments. I told them exactly what happened. And after I testified on his behalf, they turned to the principal and they said, "You have to admit this kid back into school because you don't have a case."
Right.
And so they had to let him back in. But then,
but at that point, the stigma was there, right? Yeah,
the administrators took it upon themselves to contact the parents of about maybe 400 or 500 students in the school to say, "Hey, we have no choice, but Lee's coming back to school, and there's nothing we can do about it." Wink, wink. And so, of course, all these parents petitioned saying that they will withdraw their child if he comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And so they didn't let him in, and him and his family were on the news, terrorist suspicion. They had to actually leave the state, and he actually ended up in a psychiatric hospital.
Wow. What would you consider yourself a victim of bullying at this point? Like during that period?
Not in a violent way.
No, but there's definitely more than one type of bullying. It's not usually physical, right?
Yeah, I was, but like I said, it all kind of changed around 10th grade when I said, fuck these people, I'm going to be who I am.
Right.
And from there on, I made a lot more friends, and I was well known amongst a lot of different social circles in the latter half of high school. But that first half and all through middle school, it was a really tough time. Really tough. I mean, we had in 8th grade the counselor, the school counselor, who's supposed to make you feel good about yourself when you have like depression problems. She was actually telling other parents that me specifically, that I was the ringleader of a Satan worshiping cult.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was so much slander thrown around at me and my friends, not just by students, but by teachers and officials that didn't like us.
Which of course
it made it really hard.
Which of course would just fuel more anger. Which if you let that loose, just confirms what they're saying. So what do you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. What you do is you go to a different school.
Just get out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the shooting incident happened in that first year, and it kind of felt like we went back to square one. But fortunately, it all passed. Once the next school year started.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move away from Little Mayo now.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to Under the Mayo.
Okay.
So let's talk about something a little closer to the present. Where are you currently living?
I am in Mexico. I don't actually have a set city at the time. I move around because I'm a contract teacher.
Yes.
So, I mean, you'll find me in Saltillo. You'll find me in Mexico City. It all depends on what the current schedule is.
All right. So Under the Mayo, you talked about you grew up in the States. How did you end up getting to Mexico? What's the story behind that?
That's a long, complicated tale that a lot of the stars aligned, or I guess the stars misaligned. I studied music. I really wanted to record music as a profession. I've always had an eye, or an ear rather, for production, and I opened up my own studio, and I spent a lot of money on financing it. And I don't know if the music scene in the States has become very, very corporate. It seems like there's just like a few producers out there and a few studios that just put everything together, and it's just drum samples, and synth loops. Mm-hmm. And I think the art of the local studio is really dying. And I tried to have my own recording studio, and it completely fell apart. I lost a lot of money. And this was at a time where, I was working dead-end jobs just to get by. I had a lot of debt. My friends were growing up. They were getting married and having kids, and I just wasn't ready for that, especially with the financial situation I had. And my parents, they offered me this job at their family business. Not a family business. It was just where they worked. It was like a software firm, and the job was going to require me to have some Spanish experience. And I had a little bit before, and I had been to Mexico before, and I had some friends down here that I had worked with in the States, and they said, "Hey, why don't you come down, learn the language for a bit?" And my parents were like, we'll pay for you to go down. Things haven't gone your way. Take a vacation down there. Take time to get your head straight. Figure out what you're doing with your life. Try to pick up the language. Come back. You'll have this job. Try to start over, right? And because I was making maybe $1,200 a month at my jobs, and paying 30% interest on massive debt from high-end studio equipment and stuff. And so I came down, and they were helping with the debt, and I was working. I was working some jobs down here while at the same time just kind of relaxing and learning the language. Trying to take care of my debt from overseas, from across the border as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then, about 3 months after I came down, my parents' business went bankrupt. And so my family lost all their money too. And the job was gone. And I just started to really kind of reflect on what the hell was I doing, If I just went right back, I would go back to having a shitty job. I don't really have like a diploma or anything. I don't have any kind of degree where I could get a nice job right off the bat. All my friends moved away. Family split up. They lost all they had. The bank came and repossessed my mom's house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just kind of here, and I was like, I'm gonna sit it out for a little while and kind of see how things go. I stayed here for a while. I stayed here for like a year, actually. And I picked up the teaching job. I started teaching English. I started teaching for like private companies, wherever I could. And I made my friends in the MK scene. I made a lot of new friends, and I just kind of changed and grew as a person. I guess I was kind of a misfit before.
Mm-hmm.
And coming here and spending the time I have, I kind of grew up. And I'm making good money as a teacher, and everything here is pretty cheap. I mean, technology is really expensive, but the basics are really cheap.
Yeah.
Living expenses. And for a single guy, I'm charging $25, $30 an hour or hour and a half for private classes. I make enough money to pay my rent in just a few days, maybe a week at the most. And so the rest of that money goes towards taking care of the debt,
mm-hmm.
supporting myself, having a good time with my new friends. I've been here long enough to where my taste in food has changed. My taste in culture has changed. I can't stand the music or the fashion coming out of the States anymore. The political scene just seems like a giant parody to me. I can't look at the news. It seems like there's only going to be a few more years left until like respected newspapers like the New York Times, their headlines start with OMG WTF. Like it seems like that's the way that the public intelligence is moving. Everything is very meme based.
Yeah.
And if you go on to a website and you read a news article on MSN or something, it's like you read something about some kind of disaster that happened, and just after one paragraph, there's these links for people with short attention spans.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a disaster in your life? Click here to take this poll.
Yeah.
The top story on MSN when I signed into Messenger is, is Oprah gaining weight again? Justin Bieber's new haircut. Or some celebrities from some reality show who has 7 kids. I don't know what's going on there anymore. Movies seem really stale. Everything just seems so manufactured and cheap. And here, I've actually found more of a sense of community. And I also get to kind of be myself and be a loner. I work and I can spend time alone if I want, and I don't really have people to bother me. And I really don't like being bothered. I'm actually a very irritable person. If I get in a taxi cab and someone tries to talk to me in Spanish, which I can talk Spanish, but if someone tries to talk to me, I just pull the whole, oh, yo, no, speak el español. And then they leave me alone. So it's kind of a perfect environment for someone who likes to pick their times when they want to be isolated. And so that's what I'm here. I mean, I don't know how long I'll be here, but at the moment there's nothing that's really bringing me back. Other than I really wish I could be in the tournament scenes. That's like the big thing. Mm-hmm. If I was still living there, and if my life had taken some different directions, if I had made better decisions, and I was a financially stable person, I would be doing the Tom Brady thing, man. I would be I would be living on couches for
Traveling
months.
the country.
That's what I would be doing because that's how much passion I have for it. You know, that's why I get on a bus and travel 12 hours to play in little local tournaments around this country where the grand prize is $50. You know, just because I love it. You know, and I love staying on a couch with some players in another city that I don't know. You know, just hanging out and seeing a different part of the country. It's a wonderful experience, and I would be doing it in the States if I was still there.
That's great, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the Mexico story.
How did you find your scene in Mexico?
My scene, like my gaming scene?
Your gaming scene.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, you know, I've been living on my own, been living alone for a long time, and after a while, it kind of started getting to me, and I broke down and I bought Black Ops, which I really regret, and yeah, I basically just played the zombie mode for 4 months straight, and I started playing online. I was like, I need an ID, and I had come up with Under the Mayo, so I used that, and then MK and Marvel were coming out, and I was a lot more excited about Marvel, but then it came out, and I didn't even play it. I was like, I don't really care about it. I guess I just didn't like the art style, and I started to get a lot more hype about Mortal Kombat because I have a much longer history with that series. And then I played the demo, and that's what sold me. And then I got it, but I didn't have anyone to play with, just my roommate, and you know, he didn't know what he was doing, but hell, I didn't know what I was doing either. But I was obviously better. And it just wasn't fun. You know, my roommates would play and they would pick Cyrax and just do 1-1-1 and down 3.
Yeah.
That was it. And you know, I'm doing 50% Ermac combos and then one of my roommates says, "Hey, you know, I have a couple friends that play. You should play them." So they came over one night, and they played like Raiden and Kung Lao, and I was playing Ermac, and we just had such a great time. And then the next night, knock, knock, knock on the door. They're here at my house again, and they came over every night for maybe 2 or 3 months, and it was just the 3 of us. And then they had some friends that came over and played, and then we went to a local tournament together. And now, you know, when I'm around, they're the guys that I see. I mean, they're still my team. You know, it's been over a year now, and if I can, I try to stay any weekend that I can with them for like 3 days. And there's not that big of a scene. There's really maybe 4 or maybe 5 good MK players. You know, wherever I'm at any given time.
Yeah.
But you know, there's going to be a big tournament coming up in August that hopefully everyone's going to get together for. But the scene kind of, like, I have good players to play against, but I'm really limited in my matchup experience because of it. I get a lot of practice against Cyrax, Nightwolf, Johnny Cage, Jax, Liu Kang, but you know, and Raiden. But you know, the other 70% of the cast, I just don't really know anyone. And you know, then I go to another city and I fight a smoke player, and I'm like, shit. You know, I know what to do in theory, but I get no practice against this character, and the internet connections are so bad that I just can't play. I mean,
that was my next question. Is so you refuse to play online?
No, it's not an issue of refusing. My upload speed is 0.3 megs.
Yeah,
I can't. I've actually measured it. On average, my inputs come out in the game a half second after I press the button. I just tried to play a couple weeks ago, just because I hadn't done it in like 6 months. I picked Katana, and I got someone in airlift, and I jumped up to do an instant air fan, and the input I got was a down 1 after I landed from the jump. That's how bad it is. I turn into a jump kicking fool, and I can't even get on to see how people play their characters because they can't play with my lag, and my lag is even worse. You know, it's really upsetting because I end up going to tournaments underprepared, and I mean, maybe I'm full of myself. I think I would be the best Kenshi out there if I had the practice against most of the cast. And if I got to go to tournaments and constantly play against 20, 30 different people, get online and stuff like that. But right now, I play against maybe 3 or 4 people. I get no online experience, and everything else I do, I have to study other people's fight videos and try to incorporate that into a game plan when I go up against someone I've never seen before. And it makes it to where I can't level up to where I want to. Mm-hmm. I have a mastery of my character. I know everything about this fucking character. I've discovered so many little things that help give me the edge in so many situations, but I don't really get to practice it in the way that I need to. Mm-hmm. It's upsetting.
What do you do during your downtime at the moment? Like, how do you relax?
How do I relax? I really like watching comedies, like TV comedies. I'm a big fan of Parks and Recreation, Community, a British series called Peep Show. I don't really watch movies anymore. I like some serialized dramas, Mad Men, Breaking Bad. But then, I don't know, I mean, I spent a lot of time working on my videos, my scripts, in training mode in MK, browsing, the forums on Testermite. Mm-hmm. I have people back home that I talk to on Skype, or I try to do that, once every few days if I can. Mm-hmm. I play a little guitar.
Acoustic or electric?
It doesn't matter.
Just guitar.
I have a shitty little acoustic here. I don't have an electric anymore. And then I like watching tournaments for other games, like on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Like after a long day of classes, I'll come home, maybe have a drink, talk to someone, and then I'll just I'll lay in bed and I'll watch the top 8 of Street Fighter from UFGT, or I'll watch a couple rounds of StarCraft 2 matches from MLG or something. And I don't know, that's kind of how I pass my time. I also work out a lot. I've been doing that a lot the last year. Mm-hmm. I try to work out maybe 4 or 5 days a week if I can.
Cool.
And I also really like to cook.
You like to cook?
I love to cook. I never cooked before I moved to Mexico, but I really enjoy cooking now.
Wow. What do you like? What's your favorite style of cooking?
I guess my favorite thing that I like to make is grilled garlic chicken on a cheesy pasta.
Man, I'd go for that right now. Can you email me that?
I can email you a picture. I don't think it's going to help, though.
That is the lamest comment I think I've ever made on this show. All right. So, are you in a relationship at the moment? It's complicated?
It's extremely complicated. There's someone very far away that I'm not able to be with at the moment, but I would if I could.
You know what? I think I'll leave it just like that. All the girls listening will be swooning right now.
Yeah. Shout-outs to Mrs. Mayo.
Shout-outs to Mrs. Mayo. On that note, you get a lot of attention based on your voice. We've gone so far as to getting you to do an audio recording of you reading.
Yeah, that's right. Which was strangely successful. Actually, some people went out and bought the book because of my reading of that first chapter.
How do you handle that kind of, attention where people say, his voice is so great, What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's great, it's not something I did on purpose. I never, sculpted my voice to be the way that it is. Though my speaking has changed a little bit once I became an English teacher. Mm-hmm. And also, living in Mexico and having friends that speak English, but they don't understand it well enough. I kind of have to work on my pronunciation, speak very clearly, and it slightly altered the way that I naturally speak.
Right.
My vocabulary increased and whatnot. But a lot of it came from the videos themselves. When I guess, do you want me to get into why I started making the videos? Because that kind of relates to those.
We can go wherever you want it to go.
All right. Well, I didn't know anything about this community. In June, I was just YouTube searching Ermac combos, and I found the Tom Brady Silent Show, and it was 5 episodes in, and I listened to it, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. I was like, and I was a total scrub. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know what an overhead was. I was like, what is this? Frame advantage? What does this mean? Low pokes? Baiting? I don't get this. And so I watched it, and I just dove as far into it as I could. And then I joined MKU, and I was really nervous about it, really nervous, because I didn't know any of these people, and they'd been on there for years. And I'm seeing these names like Pig of the Hut, Shoot Jinky Dink, Lord of the Fly. And I was like, who are these people? And I see their fights, and I'm like, oh, they're so cool. And I had nothing to contribute. I was just trying to learn, and I was learning Quan Chi because he's been my favorite character since Mortal Kombat 4, and so I was really trying to get good with him. And then I found out about the rune trap. I was playing Quan Chi without the rune trap. I had no idea he had it. And then I found out about it. I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. And I kept on looking up guides for different characters, and I was just blown away by how badly made they were. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sorry to insult anybody who made a guide a year ago, but everything was badly recorded from the TV, shaky camera, text that contrasts against the back to where you can't see it, and the text goes too fast where you have to stop it, and there's heavy metal blaring behind it. And heavy metal's fine and all, but sometimes you don't want to listen to 10 minutes of death metal while you're trying to learn a character.
Not the best instructional background.
Yeah, and I have 10 to 15 years in music production experience and audio engineering and video production, and so I was like, you know what? I think I could really make a good guide. I wanted to make something that was enjoyable to watch, even if you didn't want to learn the character. I wanted something that you could put on and just go to sleep to. Mm-hmm. And so I made the Science of Quan, and I used the Silent Hill soundtracks. I tried to give it a really nice flow, and I was like, you know what? This needs just a solid narration style. And so I wrote a script, nothing improv. I wrote it exactly how I wanted it to be said. And the response was phenomenal, and suddenly, I mean, people will testify to this, that right after my first video came out, Quan Chi started popping up online everywhere. Yeah. People were just using him like crazy because now they had a guide. I sent the guide to a friend of mine who doesn't even play fighting games. He's like, wow, if I feel like if I picked up Mortal Kombat, I could play Quan Chi now. Mm-hmm. And so that was how. What was that?
I'm just gonna stop you just for 1 second. The thing is that before that point, and I just want to make this clear for everyone listening, before that point, there was nothing like that video. And honestly, after that point, the only video that came close to it was the Science of Kenshi, as far as the breakdown that you went into for the Math of Quan Chi. Mm-hmm. It was I've never seen anything like it in my life. That kind of a breakdown.
Well, thanks. That was the point. I wanted to kind of start something different. I wanted people to try to up their own standards in their presentations of their characters. It's like, if you love this character, show it. And that's how I made an identity. Because right from the start, I knew, look, I'm here. I'm not going to be known as a tournament player. I can't play online. How the hell am I going to be anybody in this community? And I was like, okay, well, I'll do what I do best, which is production. And then I got this identity as the scientist, and I just embraced it. And then I went to town, and I was just going to do those basic strategy guides, but then I found the Quan Chi meter building. And yes. I was like, holy shit, I can build 15% extra meter in every combo? And then I'm finding out how the rune traps go with math and everything, and then I went on the Brady show, which was, I had come full circle. The guy who had gotten me into the community, I was now on there talking about my discoveries. I was like, this is amazing. And then I accepted, okay, that's what I do in this community. So I just went to town with it. I did the Dawn of a New Quan, I found the Mayo trap, I did all the math stuff. Then I went, head first into Kenshi, just trying to find as many things as I could. And and the voice is part of that. People like to hear something narrated well with good music behind it and with a smooth video production, and it's flattering. It's really nice, and it's nice to have an identity at all. Mm-hmm. And if that's what I'm known for, then that's beautiful, and I'm really proud of it. I don't think there's a lot of people discover tech for their characters. I mean, I've discovered a lot of things with Kenshi, but really I think the only Kenshi players that incorporate it are myself, Blackula, and Tolkien. Mm-hmm. A lot of people just don't really go for extra 8% meter in your corner combos, or how to do an unbreakable setup from every launcher. They don't really pay attention to it. People discover tech and it's not really paid attention to. But I don't think many people can actually say that they discovered something that became the standard for their character, and that was the Quan Chi meter building. Every Quan Chi worldwide does a rune trance whiff in their trance combos for the extra meter. Mm-hmm. It completely changes the game. And so every time, when I tune in and I see Hedon or Haydn, I don't know how you say his name, over there in Greece, I see him playing a tournament and I see him land a trance combo and do rune trance whiff, I just get this huge grin. I'm like, wow, I made a difference, and I'm really happy that I could do that. Especially for the Quan, especially for the Quan community, because that's my favorite character, and I root for Quans no matter what. I remember the first time I saw it, it was Jujinkydink at Devastation. Mm-hmm. That was the first time we really saw Quan Chi in a major tournament. And it was his first match, about 5 seconds in, and he lands a combo, and then he does the rune trance whiff, and I just jumped out of my chair. And I was like, that's it, that's my shit. Jujinkydink is doing it. Yes, yes, yes. And then right after it, 16-bit, who, I had never talked to. I was just like, oh, cool, 16-bit is commentating. He says, hey, you see what he's doing there? He's building meter. That's interesting. According to Under the Mayo, Quan builds extra meter with his trance. And I was like, holy shit, 16-bit knows who I am just because I have these videos and this Quan tech? And I was just blown away. And that's when I knew. I was like, I've made a difference. I feel good about what I'm doing for this community now.
Well, let me tell you this. And I'm not saying this to, kiss your butt or anything like that. But if you can ever manage, and I'm hoping that this can happen in Mexico in the fall for you, I really do. Mm-hmm. If you can manage to get some of those guys in a tournament where you are present, they will pick you out, and they will find you. Recently I got back from Toryukin. I was shocked with the amount of people who knew who I was.
Really?
Yes, absolutely stunned by it. And it's quite a feeling to go there and be like, I don't know who you are, but you know who I am. And I'm not a huge deal in this scene. Mm-hmm. So I really hope that you get to experience that kind of recognition. And really, it's what it is it's respect and admiration for the dedication that you put into a character.
Absolutely.
Like you look at some of the characters, like Rio is Cabal.
Exactly.
Tom Brady is Sun. And you are Quan. Like you've identified yourself with the character so much that you've actually left an imprint on it, and people will recognize that, and they'll recognize you. It's mind blowing when it happens.
Yeah, it feels good because there's only 30 characters in the game, and there's thousands of players, and so to be associated with a character or even two characters because of my work with Kenshi mm-hmm. is pretty flattering. It's very humbling in a way. To get the messages I do, messages from people in Peru or the Dominican Republic, asking me about Quan and Kenshi, and it's wonderful.
How many times have you gotten this question? Is the rune trap escapable? How do I get out of the rune trap?
How do I get out of the rune trap? Well, it depends on how they're doing the rune trap. You have to look at their meter. Quan is playing with math. He is a math-based character. That's what makes him so interesting. When he gets you in a rune trap, okay, provided he doesn't have 2.5 bars to 3 bars, if he has less than that, he's probably going to have to do some extra kind of poke if he wants to kill you with a rune trap. Mm-hmm. And so you have to recognize he has to do something else, and you have to look for it. But then that opens up his mix-up option. So, it's a bit of a guessing game, but you can play it smart by looking at how much meter he has. Like if Quan gets to a point where he has if he needs to do 2-1-2 on block just to earn that last rune, you can let the last 2 hit you, and then a regular rune will come out by accident, and then you can shift the pressure into space. You know, it's so there's a math to playing Quan, but there's a math to fighting him as well, and that's what a lot of people don't really take the time to learn. You know.
You talked about earlier how you went on the Tom and Silent show, and some of the people now that are in the scene might not even know what that show is.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But what an awesome show. I actually got on it for a little bit whenever Mortal Monday was starting up. Tom was great, threw me a bone. It was awesome. I just want to talk about, everyone has this picture of Tom in their head, and I want to ask you, what was your first experience like, you know, talking to Tom on this show? What were you feeling, and what was your impression?
I would guess I was a little starstruck. I tend to idolize anyone in any kind of community that I get involved with. It was just, I don't know, it was just a nice experience to be able to, you know, to talk to someone who, you know, I saw as a celebrity when I first joined, and to talk to them as a just person to person. That's one of the wonderful things about this community, or the fighting game scene in general, is that it's different from sports, where, you know, there's the players and there's the fans. But and the fans cheer for the players, and they don't get to talk to them afterwards. But we are the players and we're the fans. So, you know, we can get on the stream and watch an amazing player do great at a tournament, and then send them a private message on Test Your Might, and they'll likely respond back, and you can ask them a question. You know, so it's just such a much more rewarding community to be a part of than I guess what you would call real sports.
And the interesting thing about the fighting game community too is that you can be a fan, but then, you know, through dedication and how much you want to really put into the game, you can become a pro. Like that's like, what other sport in the world can you just be sitting at home and be like, you know what, I would like to do that. And then you go out and you train and you practice, and then it's not like you're going to be out playing for like a Major League Baseball team in 6 months. You know what I mean? But in this case, you could be someone like Kerbo, who, you know, no one knew who he was. Well, some people did, and then they thought he was a joke, and then he went out and proved himself, and everyone loves him. Like, overnight, you know. It's interesting.
Or you can make a name for yourself just by making good videos. You don't have to be known as a great player. That's how awesome this community is, because it's not so big like Marvel and Street Fighter, where you go on Shoryuken, and, you know, there's 10 new, you know, tech and combo videos out from 10 different people, and then they're gone the next day. You know, so, I mean, you don't really get famous for that, I guess. And we're not like really, really, really small. We're just like this middle spot where you can be known and make a difference by doing a lot of different things.
Let's talk about our scene.
Okay.
Like the Mortal Kombat scene in general. What do you see as the biggest problem with Mortal Kombat, the scene, right now?
Scene. I honestly don't know. A few months ago, I would have said the commentary. But that is really
definitely
taking a step for the better. You know, starting the final round. But I don't know. I honestly don't really have an answer. I mean, I guess the popular answer is to say the trolling, but I'm not trolled. So hey, trolls, bring it on! You know, give me your best. I think I've had maybe 2 people ever say something negative about my work. So, you know, I'm not really connected enough to it. I don't really know what the main problems are. Probably a lack of information.
Could you elaborate on that? What do you mean by lack of information?
Well, maybe not so much lack of information as a lack of shared information.
Ah, I see what you're saying.
You know, I mean, you can publish something about your character, and then a few months later, someone posts that they just found the same thing.
Yeah.
That gets kind of annoying. And not just for me. I mean, that's happened with me a lot. But, you know, it happens with other people, too. I go into other forums, and I see the repeat things all the time.
Yeah. That, or like, you post a video, and then someone says that they knew about it, but there's no video of it. That's big too. It's like, well, I'm sorry, there's no information in the forums about it.
Yeah, like I picked up Katana. I mean, I've been playing Katana since the game came out, but I really picked her up seriously starting a few months ago as an alternative. And I was finding things with her, but there was no way I was going to go into the forums and start posting, hey, I found this thing with Katana. No way. I leave that to the Katana experts who have been with her seriously all this time. You know, I posted a little thing about down 1 EX fan lift because someone asked me to look into it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, I get kind of annoyed when someone picks up your character or picks up anyone's character when they've been with them for 10 months, and then they're like, hey, I found this thing you can do. And everyone was like, yeah, we know.
What do you think is the greatest thing in it that I've seen?
Great.
Yeah.
The greatest thing? Well, probably what I said is that it's a scene where everyone knows each other. Like Cheers. You know? You know, all the tournament players talk to each other, you know? It's, you know, I mean, I don't know Rio at all. I have him on my Facebook page. Why do I have Rio on my Facebook? I don't know. It's because that's the kind of community we are. You know? 80% of my Facebook friends are tournament players that I've never met before. You know? Half of them I haven't even spoken to in a chat or Skype. We're just, you know, close like that because we have a shared interest. You know, and now I'm friends with people that I never thought I would ever be friends with. I'm friends with wrestling fans. I hate wrestling fans. But you know, I have MK friends who are wrestling fans now, and it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice.
That's something who I'd really love to have 16-bit on to talk about the connection between wrestling and this community because it's there.
Yeah, it is.
There's a correlation. It is there. One thing I will ask you about is the game. We talk about Mortal Kombat the scene, let's talk about Mortal Kombat the game. Mm-hmm. And I always like to do the negative things first because I like to end things on a positive note. Mm-hmm. So, the bad in this game. If you could take just one, and this is going to be tricky, I'm going to say just one thing from this game and change it, what would it be? The one thing.
Jesus.
I'm just asking you because I know you have the math. So, the math and the science. Let's figure this out right now. The one thing we can change, what would it be?
I think I would change the way that block stun works.
Block stun?
Yeah. I would make releasing block instant.
Like Street Fighter?
Yeah. It's like, I don't like that releasing block at certain times, like, changes the recovery of it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's like Johnny Cage does forward 3 against me. You know, he's neutral, but then his next forward 3 is what, like 9 frames?
Yeah.
And I'm doing a 6-frame down 1, and he's beating me. Yeah. Because I'm not letting go of block at the right time.
Yeah.
And if I'm like trying to get it out, sometimes I press it on the wrong frame and I get the input bug. Yeah. So I guess that's kind of two things in one. If you fix the block stun, in some cases that would also avoid the input bug. I think that would be really helpful.
And like people don't seem to understand that this is one of the big differences between offline and online too. There is no way going from connection to connection to connection, and by that I mean from person to person to person, that you are going to be able to play something and just frame everything on that many different connections. Which is why a character like Johnny Cage is godlike online.
Exactly.
A character like Scarlet, it can give people trouble online. Cabal, if you can actually do Cabal stuff, is freaking near impossible to play against online. Because the decisions that you have to make are so fast, coupled with a situation like block stun, which is impeding even offline.
Right.
You know, what do you do?
Yeah.
So I really like that. I think that, block stun is a huge problem in this game. It's huge. But with that being said, let's talk about, as I said, like ending on a positive note. So, what do you think is the best thing that you would like to see carried over to like an MK10 or the next endeavor that involves Mortal Kombat characters in a fight?
I'm sorry. Could you ask the question again? I heard something outside and it kind of distracted me. What was that?
What do you think would be the greatest thing to take from Mortal Kombat 9 and kind of transplant it into the next Mortal Kombat game?
I guess just the rhythm of it. That's what really keeps me in this game. I love the rhythm that the combos have, that the attacks have. Everything just has a great feel to it, you know? Or like when jacks, uppercuts, sector, and you just hear that smack of the metal, and it's like everything just feels so brutal. It doesn't feel like it's animated. It feels like it's happening. And the speed of the game is just perfect. It's not as slow as Street Fighter, but it's not as fast as Marvel. Mm-hmm. Just the general rhythm of the game, I think, is perfect.
What's your thoughts on different stage lengths?
Different stage sizes? Pit all day, man. Pit, Kenshi versus Cabal, you bet your ass we're going to the pit.
Do you think the tournament standard should be random?
No, I think the tournament standard should be a medium stage.
So you think it should always be... Okay, I can respect that.
Yeah, I mean, get rid of rooftop day, get rid of the pit, and find a happy medium. And give yourselves about 4 or 5 stages to pick from. And that's fine. I mean, that's what other fighters do anyway. Even though their stages are the same, they pick only a couple stages because of what's going on in the background and stuff.
Good. Who do you think right now? And I know that you watch a lot of MK-related stuff. You watch streams, you watch YouTube archives. Who do you think is the most underrated player in the scene right now, from what you've witnessed? And there is no right or wrong answer. This isn't to call anyone out or put anyone down. This is just your opinion.
Most underrated?
Most underrated.
Newbie?
Cyrax player.
Yeah.
When was the last time we've seen Newbie?
Newbie won... CEO. He won CEO a few weeks ago, right? Against Big D.
Oh, was this during the week of Toryuken?
I want to say it was during the week of Civil War.
Okay. No, see, I know I didn't watch it. So, okay, could you recap that for me?
Recap?
What? Yeah,
recap? You want me to recap Newbie Cyrax? It was fucking crazy.
No, I know Newbie Cyrax. I've seen Newbie Cyrax play. He's balls out, 100% pressure, string mix-ups. He goes nuts. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the Big D, who was Big D using? Nightwolf?
Ermac.
Oh, Big D's using Ermac now. See, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So
and Big D's awesome too, man.
Oh, Big D is incredible. Incredible player. So good. Yeah. You think that Newbie's the most underrated. Who do you think is the most overrated?
Most overrated player?
Most overrated.
I think... God. I'm thinking. I've never really thought of the question, and I guess I've never really thought of anyone as overrated.
I respect that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't think anyone's overrated. I think people are a little obsessed over Johnny Cage.
Okay, well, let's change the question then. Who do you think is the most overrated character?
Overrated character? Right. Let me think about that. I'll probably get blown up for this, but I probably think that Kenshi and Sonya are a little overrated.
What aspects about Sonya do you believe is overrated?
I don't know. I mean, she can get zoned. I mean, that's a fact. But I mean, she gets in quick. She's got a good projectile. But all of her strings start high.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even that standing 4 knee is fucking high.
Yeah.
She has down 4.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I think like the main Sonya players would probably agree with me that Sonya is incredibly powerful, and she's got some stupid bullshit. But I don't think that she's the monster that everyone thinks she is.
What about Kenshi?
Kenshi is someone that everyone wants to say is the number 2 character in the game. Yet, we rarely really see Kenshi's doing well in tournament settings. It's because Kenshi, he has great armor. He's got the spirit charge frame traps. He's got good mix-ups. Everything's safe. Yeah, he takes great damage in the corner. Great corner pressure. He is really, really, really good. but the fundamental problem with Kenshi starts to rear its head when you fight someone who starts to like know you and like know how you play and know exactly how to fight Kenshi. I mean, my guys here have been fighting my Kenshi since September or August or whenever he came out. And the fundamental problem is that every single one of Kenshi's moves has the properties of a projectile. Mm-hmm. He stands still, which makes, it's going to sound stupid to say he's vulnerable to jumps, but the fact is, he is vulnerable to a random jump.
Yeah.
If you dash in and you do a spirit charge, there's not a lot of difference between doing that and being another character and dashing in and throwing a fireball. Mm-hmm. If it gets jumped, you get hurt. Yeah. And his wake up game is a blessing and a curse. Not talking about the armor. I mean, if someone knocks you down, they dash in up into your face. You have three options. You can do a wake up attack. You can stand and block whatever pressure they're coming in for, or you can expect them to jump over you and nail them with an EX Spirit Charge or an EX Rising Karma. And it's not an armored option like something like Sonya's Cartwheel. Mm-hmm. If you pull the trigger on an EX Cartwheel, thinking they're going to come in and they jump over you, you're out of the way.
Yeah.
If you
jump in front of a whiff.
If you do EX Spirit Charge when they dash in and they jump over, eat a full combo. If you expect that jump in and you're going to try to do the reverse input, then get ready to eat pressure because you're not doing your wake up attack. And then you have to deal with your high hitbox. And I mean, I'm not saying Kenshi isn't the amazing character he is. He's top 5 without a doubt.
Yeah.
But those fundamental issues with him having no mobility with any of his specials, mm-hmm. Pretty much means he doesn't get away for free out of your pressure unless he makes a good read and hits you with that Spirit Charge. And then there's characters that can really frustrate him. I mean, Smoke is frustrating. I mean, if it's not 5/5, it might be slightly in Smoke's advantage simply because of the amount of damage, and you can't zone him, and because you can't zone him, you can't build meter, so you can't use your meter against him, and even when you do, you're not going to have meter for breaker.
Right.
Kung Lao's mobility fucks him up. Cabal's tough. I personally think that Cyrax Kenshi is in Kenshi's favor. Some people don't agree with me because of the damage and the net trades. There's people that can frustrate him. Hell, Noob Saibot is frustrating as hell mm-hmm. as a Kenshi player. So people like to say he doesn't, that he only has like maybe one bad matchup or maybe two bad matchups. And I think there's a few more shades of gray to take into consideration. I think Kung Lao is probably the most underrated character in the game.
Where would you peg him in your tier list?
Oh man, I think Kung Lao is probably top 5. I get laughed at for saying it, but then some people agree with me. I mean, hell, Death thinks that Kung Lao might be number 2. I mean, I think Foxy and Use for Glue have a very interesting Kung Lao style that I don't see anyone in the States playing Kung Lao like that, and I don't know why. And I think they might really open people's eyes.
I think that after Evo, you will see everyone playing Kung Lao like that.
Yeah, Kung Lao is stupid, man.
Yeah. My question to you, and we're kind of getting to the end of our interview.
All right.
Let's put it out there. Let's make the prediction right now. Under the Mayo's prediction, Evo, Europe versus North America. Who's walking out with the victory?
I think it will be very close, but it will eventually go to the States. No bias at all, because I have absolutely no connection to the States anymore. I don't give a shit about country pride or anything. So, but I think if they go the 3 brothers in Rio, that's going to be real tough. That's going to be really, really tough. But I think they'll do well, and yeah, they could totally win. But I'm betting 60-40 in VSM's favor or US favor. And top 8 Evo, probably 1 of the European guys. I would really like to see Dink in Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I want there to be a Quan in there.
Played them both. Phenomenal players.
Mm-hmm. I would like to see both Pig and Blackula in top 8.
Mm-hmm.
I say that because not necessarily me wanting 2 Kenshis in there, but because I see Blackula more as a true Kenshi player. You know, like he is a Kenshi player and has been since the beginning. You know, I'm always talking to him about tech. He does the stuff in the Ultimate Kenshi series. He does the meter building in the corner and all that stuff. Like he really pays attention to those fine details.
Mm-hmm.
And Pig has just solid fundamentals, and he knows what to do with Kenshi. You know, but in his matchups where he has a bit of a question, he has alternatives with Melina and maybe Jax now. I'm hearing possibly. So he's more of like a solid fundamental player that has an array of characters to use, and he really likes Kenshi.
Yeah.
Whereas Blackula is, you know, I identify him more with the character. And that is by no means an insult at Pig at all. You know, I want that to be clear. So I'd like to see them both. And, you know, then a couple guys from VSM, I guess, will be the rest. I just really hope we don't see 4 or 5 Cabals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little worried about that. I think a lot of people are. I mean, I don't want to start bitching about Cabal. I mean, it's been a long time. You know, we have to accept what is. But more and more people are saying they're picking them up, and it's weird. We went through this period where everyone was talking about counterpicking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you got to have like a big team ready. You know, counterpick, take the advantage. And then we went back to character loyalty.
Yeah.
CD Junior's like, I'm playing Jax. Rio's like, I'm playing Cabal. You know, and you know, it kind of brought life back into things. And now it seems like character loyalty has gone. I'm character loyal with Cabal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
or whoever's top tier is who I'm going to be.
Because everyone else needs to switch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean. You know, Pig would probably play Melina 100% if he could.
Yeah.
But, you know, Melina against Cabal, Melina against some of this cast is real tough. And so he's going to have somebody else. And so character loyalty is only going to get you so far depending on who you play. And so I really don't want to see I'm loyal to my character be specifically for Cabal players and then end up with, you know, CD Junior and Rio and Kevin Man and Kat and Sunk all in top 8 Evo using Cabal because not just because that would be kind of boring for non-Cabal players, but because it would create this atmosphere where any other tournament where anyone else won, you could always say, well, you won, but you didn't have to fight a top Cabal.
Yeah.
And all the top Cabals beat everyone at Evo and got top 8. If that happens, if all the top Cabals were to get Evo top 8, that would be held over everyone's head at every tournament.
I think it would actually put the nail in the coffin.
It would kill the game. It would absolutely kill the game, and that's why I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I'm not saying I don't want to see Cabals in top 8. Yeah, give me a Cabal. Give me 2 Cabals in max. You know, give me 2 of any character at max, to be honest. I don't want to see 3 Cyrexes. I don't want to see 3 Smokes. Oh, God, I don't want to see 3 Smokes. You know, and so, yeah, but if that were to happen, specifically with that character, because of the stigma attached to that character, that would be the end. And I don't want to see that happen.
No.
You know, if Rio gets top 8 with Cabal, I mean, I'm sure he will. And if he wins Evo with Cabal, you know, more power to him. That's great. You know, just as long as the top 4 isn't all Cabals. You know, or the top 4, you know, all Kenshis, or the top 4 all Smokes. That it's just not good for the game when everyone jumps on one character.
Well, Under the Mayo, we're kind of drawing to the end of our interview.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point in time, I really like to open the floor to our guests and kind of allow them to take the podium and say whatever they want to say. Shoutouts, callouts, their thoughts, anything extra that they want to add. So I'd like to give you that now. I'd like to give you the opportunity to say whatever you'd like to say.
All right. I guess I can take this time to talk about August. August 4th, there's going to be a tournament in Mexico City, and it's during a week or 2 week vacation period across the country, and so they're anticipating a larger turnout from multiple cities coming there, and this is the city I go to when I play tournaments, and so they're anticipating a bigger turnout, and I'm using this opportunity to invite other players. I'm trying to get some American players, even some Canadian players, and some people have expressed interest in coming down. And I can't promise the biggest pot for first place, but it wouldn't really be about that. It would be about coming to a different place, without having to fly overseas, getting a couple hotel rooms. And and meeting some players from another country you've never played before, and I think it's going to be a really, really fun experience. Alcohol's cheap here, so I really want to extend an invitation to any player who's maybe in the south of the states, or who wants to take a trip down here with some friends, to get on a plane or come down, take a plane down to the border and then just take a cheap bus across. I'm really trying to make this happen, and there's been people who have said that they want to meet me at Evo. Guys, I'm not going to be there. I have too many responsibilities here to allow for that kind of time off and for the money that would involve. But I would really love to meet some of the guys who play this game and that I talk to all the time, and to have a good time and to show them a good time. And I think this is a good opportunity. And anyone who's interested, just think about it. Send me a message if you want on TYM, and I'd really like to make this happen. Other than that, fuck smoke and fuck Kung Lao, and I guess that's about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Under the Mayo.
Thanks for having me on, man.